Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Ashley Deadwyler-Jones and Andrea Evans. We are here highlighting some of HBCU's most excellent professionals, executives, academics. And this week we are working with our Spelman sisters, and we have our very own Miss Sarah Curtis Henry, who is here to talk about her experience with Spelman and talk to us a little bit, Sarah, about who you are today and how you got to where you are.
Who am I today? I'm the same girl that entered the gates of Spelman back in 1994. But I have had the opportunity to live out some of my dreams with the help of my Spelman sisters and so many others that have rooted for me, encouraged me to believe in, that I could be whatever I want to be, starting with my own family. I grew up in a household where there were no limitations, where there was no room for intimidation or feeling that you were less than. And I really felt that I could be whatever I set my heart out to be. And so Spelman helped to accelerate me down the path I'm on. And I think there's something very significant about Spelman that sticks with me today. I'm sitting in a role with a fancy title and working at an amazing company. So currently I'm Chief Marketing Officer at TATCHA, which is a leading beauty brand here in the US with some tentacles abroad and aspirations to become a larger company and scale up. And to get me to this point, I had to believe that I could break into an industry where, there weren't many women like us, where I just didn't have any experience or exposure to it when I was growing up. And to believe that I could learn and hustle and work my way up and actually find something that I'm passionate about. I think, Ashley, that when we left Spelman, we went into Wall Street.
Yep.
It was that good job, it was sort of like, I'm going to work at that good, Wall Street job at that great company. And there were so many people from Spelman and Morehouse who went before us, who went to Wall Street and became doctors and lawyers and, entrepreneurs and doing so many amazing things. And I said, I want to go with them. I want to go to Wall Street. I want to, blow up and make it in New York in a different way than growing up in New York, because Wall Street exposed me to an entirely different side of the story. And then I realized 6 years later, I stayed a little bit longer, and it took me a little longer, Ashley, and said, you know what, this has been good to me in so many ways, but my heart is somewhere else. I need to really harvest that creative side of my brain, of my energy, combined with the business acumen that I built on Wall Street. So went to HBS, went from deciding to take another job on Wall Street to saying, you know what, maybe I need to sort of build a different chapter rather than saying, yes.
Can we back up and explain to the world who and what HBCS is? Thank you.
HBS.
HBS.
It's Harvard Business School. Harvard Business School.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes. So that was one of my dreams coming out of Spelman and going into Wall Street, that I would go to get my MBA. Again, there were so many Spelman and Morehouse folk who went to HBS. That's what we call it. That's the nickname, HBS. And also I have an uncle who went to HBS who sort of taught me about it as I was growing up and said, hey, you should put this on your vision board and think about doing this in the future. So I had the opportunity and I applied and was fortunate to be admitted and went thinking, you know what, I'll mix it up and do something else on Wall Street. If I wasn't happy in asset management, I'll go and do equity capital management. And my thinking was so confined to that world that when I walked, through the gates of HBS, I was open to an entirely new world. I would say new worlds, people who did lots of interesting things, from NGO work to working in fashion and business, and who were doctors looking to get their MBA to kind of go into an entirely different realm of healthcare and tech and private equity. And I thought, wow, this is an opportunity for me to reset the course, really kind of just let go of what happened up to this point and think differently about what I want to do. So I walked in with a fellowship from another Wall Street firm that was paying my tuition, with the agreement that I would go to spend the summer there. And then if I did well, I'd get a full-time job. And there were only 4 fellows at HBS, and they were all minority fellows. And I actually turned back to the company and said, you know what, take the money back. I can't do this. I need to use this time to explore something different. And they sort of looked at me and said, you can keep the money. And I said, wouldn't be right for me to keep the money because I'm not holding up my end of the obligation.
Mhm.
And people who were my classmates and in my family thought, who gives up full tuition the Harvard Business School to go find herself?
Wow.
In the end, that's exactly what I did. And I spent the summer interning at L'Oreal. I thought, I love marketing, love sales. Those were the parts of my job that I loved on Wall Street, but I want to do something more creative. Ended up at L'Oreal working on soft sheen carton, working with amazing Black women who inspired me. I think it was a very unique way to start in the beauty world, was to work on brands like Dark and Lovely, Optimum Care, brands that I knew from a young age because I was a customer of soft sheen carton. And so working with Candace Matthews and Maya Brown and Kimberly Hairston and so many different people who just were amazing consumer goods marketers, leaders in their own right, and to have that as my first beauty experience really set the path for me. And I said, you know what? I got to do this. This is where I want to be. And I luckily got a full-time position at L'Oreal. And that's what kicked me off. And fast forward to almost 15 years later, I'm now in the position that I envisioned, that I dreamed of being in. And so I'm very grateful for that, but also very humble, and know that to be in this world, the hustle continues. You have to continue to study. You have to continue to learn and to push yourself. You have to learn how to inspire others because it becomes less about you and more about your team and your ability to push people forward and inspire them to push themselves and achieve their dreams. And you also realize that it's not just transactional about getting a result or building a brand or driving sales. It's about helping other people to live out their vision and their vision board. And you have some part of their future in your hands as their leader, as their manager. So I think that's the part of my career that I enjoy the most. And what I love telling younger people, and it's wild when you get to a point where you start talking about younger people, right? Because it's like time goes fast. I tell them, you know what, I will have done my job if you can be my boss one day. If an old lady needs a job and I knock on your door and you give me one, then that means I've done my job. And you can even soar to greater heights than that. So.
Wow.
Well, Sarah, that is such an inspiring story. I mean, just to hear that you've accomplished so much and your story is inspiring. And like you said, to be able to empower and inspire the next generation is what's even more important. So I want to step back. Let's go back, because you said in 1994, you entered the gates of Spelman. So I want to know about the opportunities you had before you even decided to go to Spelman, because you're very fortunate, as you said, to have come from a family that was pushing and encouraging you, and you exude confidence. So we can see that. But we have a lot of people watching now that are just young women who are saying, should I go to Spelman? So what were your choices between Spelman and other colleges, and what inspired you to finally say, Spelman is my choice of college?
That's a really great question. So a couple things. One, when I visited Spelman, I think that was the clincher for me. And that was in the middle of the application process. When you're putting feelers out, I applied to Ivy League schools, I applied to state schools, I applied to HBCUs, other HBCUs outside of Spelman. And there was that moment when I walked through the gates to visit with my parents. And I walked, and there was just this feeling, I just felt elevated. There was just something that clicked intuition-wise that said, this is where I need to be. I feel it in my bones. And I think all of us have had moments in our life where we've had that. You can't explain it. It's not rational. It's not written down somewhere in a spreadsheet that compares Spelman to like 7 other schools. It's just that moment of, this is where I'm supposed to be. And that was the feeling when I visited. So when I applied, I was still going through the process of applying to Ivy League schools and state schools. And in the end, I had the option of Ivy League, Spelman, other HBCUs, state schools that were amazing, that would have put more money in my pocket, quite frankly. And I said, you know what? There is only one choice. And the reason for that choice is because there really wasn't a place where I would be celebrated, and to use a word that rhymes, but really just came to my head, and elevated as a Black woman. And that was something that I felt I needed. I felt it was something that would catapult me to a place of self-confidence and appreciation, and to be able to walk with my head held high. And I just felt that this wasn't just an education, it was a transformative experience, and one that I could cherish and hold on to for the rest of my life. And people said, oh, you want to go to a HBCU? Like, aren't you concerned that you won't have diversity and, and that you'll pigeonhole your prospects, and that it's not the real world? The naysayers that were out there, that's what they had to say. And I said, quite frankly, in the world we live in, I will have plenty of diversity, depending on how you define diversity, because that's a loaded term as well. I will be exposed to people from all over the world of all races and ethnicities. That will be the bulk of my life. And at Spelman, this is a moment where we, as a group that's faced so many challenges, get to come together and celebrate each other and lift each other up. And I remember during orientation, the ceremony, of separation, where we left our parents, our families, or our loved ones. They went one way and we went another, and the drums were playing and people were dancing. And there was just something so powerful about that. And I also thought about my ancestors, my family, my grandmother on my father's side, all of her brothers and sisters, they all went to college. And this was back in the day when, that was not common at all. And the majority of them went to historically Black colleges and universities, like Central State and Wilberforce, for example, and then went on to get graduate degrees. So I felt the power of that in making my choice, and then what I experienced. And I didn't think there was another place that could offer me excellence in academics, hands down. The professors that we have, the level of experience and the credentials that they have, and the fact that they enjoy being with us and actually being able to nurture us beyond what's in the book, down to the spiritual elevation and the transformation that comes with being part of the Spelman experience. And that's what I felt I would receive in coming to Spelman and be a part of, because it's about the exchange. And in the end, that's exactly what I experienced.
Awesome. You know what, Sarah, listening to you talk, I have like a gazillion questions. I'm like, golly, how much time do we have? One, just both of us having the Wall Street experience and feeling like we are exposed to people and things that just seem to be bigger than life, particularly financially, in terms of the trajectory that you can go at such a young age. And you can have people, when you say you walked away from coming back into your Wall Street role, you were a VP, at a major firm. You weren't an analyst, you were a VP. And so the position you took in marketing, was that a lateral move, or did you take a step back to get forward? Tell us about.
I took a step back, title-wise and financially, to make the move that I did. So it was, I was a VP, and then I decided to take a position at L'Oreal as first an intern again, and then an assistant marketing manager. So that's, you start, essentially at the very beginning, and you build yourself up. Now, fortunately, they had a program at L'Oreal, which was for MBA specifically, where you could, kind of track through, and they would accelerate your path if you did well and you proved yourself performance-wise, and you had lots of exposure. And they also felt you had a lot of value to add. Some of us were from Wall Street, some of us were from retail backgrounds, lots of different backgrounds with lots of experience. So they created a program for MBAs coming in with that experience. But with that said, I had to start over as an assistant marketing manager, working the long nights, the person who cleaned the ad boards with Clorox wipes and made sure that the carts were organized for the big executive meetings with all the product samples and the decks and the trays and all of that stuff. I remember working for Saatchi & Carson. I went on tour with them, what they called style tour at the time, where they would go to different cities and different festivals, and we would give out samples, and I'd be the person setting it up and breaking it down. And I also did some like light modeling on TV stations where we were launching a color product, and they're like, hey, we need a model. They're like, why don't you do it? So you need to show up here at 4 a.m. We'll get you prepped and ready. We'll put like a lot of hair color in your hair. We'll blow dry it out, make you look great. Then you stand on TV and smile. And they're like, well, since you're going to be on this tour, you got to earn your coin. And so I did everything, waking up early, kind of playing the hair model role to sort of like getting sweaty and breaking things down and building them up and giving out samples and sitting on the ground in a parade ground and eating lunch. And because I wanted it. I wanted it. I was passionate about it. I wanted to prove that I was, able to come in despite my background, despite the fact that I was a VP, and really want it and hustle. And so it was important to me to not only succeed, but also gain the respect of my colleagues, many of whom have been in the industry for quite a while before I joined, who sort of had a side eye, like, who are all these people coming in, from Wall Street and consulting who think that they can excel in this industry. So I wanted to prove that I was coming in humble and willing to learn, and ready to take every opportunity to prove myself.
Wow. Well, you exude courage and confidence. And what I heard out of that is passion, like you said. And when you're passionate about something, the money will come, your happiness will come. And so people always ask me this question. So I have to ask you, how do you determine what your passion is? Like, what skills, did you write down something in a journal? Because you just, like you said, you were using these beauty products, and the beauty business, the industry is $1 billion industry. So it's an amazing industry. But how did you actually just say, I'm going to just take a leap of faith, step back in my career, take this, have this intern? Like, what was going on in your life at that time? And how did you determine what you were passionate about?
I think I took inventory of the things that first I enjoyed. In my positions at JP Morgan, like I said, a lot of good came out of that. I was able to succeed there. I was able to have a different job almost every 2 years, where I was able to explore different aspects of the business. And there were a lot of things that I loved. One is I love people, interacting with people, customer service, marketing, sales, strategy. Those were things I had the opportunity to do. I also enjoy the analytical side of it and the quantitative side of it. But I think the industry itself just didn't feel like the right fit for me long term. So I thought if I could take these functional parts that I really enjoy and find an industry that's creative and energetic and fun, and one that I personally connect with. And it's interesting because the reason I connect with beauty is not so much because we make, great skincare products and pretty lipsticks. It's about how these products make people feel. It's about the relationship I had with them, how I felt when I got a new cleanser or a moisturizer or lotion. I remember being a kid and thinking, I want to, be the Noxzema girl, and not to look like her, but sort of the idea of sitting there and spending time taking care of myself in the bathroom, washing my face and masking with that Queen Helene mint julep mask or whatever that. It was just like whatever I had in front of me, I enjoyed it. So it was sort of these moments of fun, of feeling like I, could transform and that I could have this confidence and look great. I've always loved fragrance and different things, and just things that make you feel like your best self, right? It's not necessarily that you need those things, but it's the way they make you feel, the excitement of getting something new and trying it, of feeling like, yeah, I've got it when you walk out of the door, and that you're putting your best foot forward. And I think for many of us, coming from, proud African-American families, making sure that you are, sharp as a tack and put together as you present yourself to the world is something that is, really important. But it's not just about the look, it's the confidence in saying, like, I'm here and I mean business. And I think that confidence means something different for all women and men and all who use beauty, but it is something that is so psychologically important for so many people. It's something where during times like this, people still say, you know what, I can find solace in a great bath, or, taking care of my skin, or whatever it is. It's just those little things that make people feel important, that can take someone from feeling down to feeling up. And also seeing an industry with so many female entrepreneurs in it, as you look at some of the businesses that have started over the years, including the one that I'm a part of now. The founder of my business went to HBS. We were classmates. She is a woman and an entrepreneur who had a dream, who built a company that grew, like wildfire over the course of 10 years, and was able to sell it to Unilever. Like, how many industries allow for that kind of entrepreneurial spirit where you see it at a high concentration, amongst women and women in leadership positions, especially these days in beauty, because it wasn't always like that. So I'm inspired by all of that. And I thought, you know what, this industry connected with the things that I love from my Wall Street days seems like the perfect combination where I can be artistic in one moment, in the details and financial in another moment. And I love that I can flex in that way and also make such a positive impact on people's lives through the products and the experiences that we offer.
Awesome. Sarah, if you had an opportunity to turn and look at the 17-year-old Sarah that was walking through the Spelman gates and give her a few words of wisdom, what would you say to her today?
Well, I would look back at her. First, I'd have an image in my mind of the girl from Brooklyn with the huge door knocker earrings and the high top sneakers and the short.
Beautiful legs. Sarah's legs are like incredible. Excuse me, but I mean, you just couldn't miss those like long.
Well, thank you, girl. Thank you. But yeah, I would have that vision of that girl who's like, my name is Sarah and I'm from Brooklyn, right? I was all about that walking in, but I think that was about the confidence and being me. And what I would say to her is, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I think when you're 17 and you're going to college, there's so many thoughts going through your mind, so much uncertainty. Am I going to fit in? Is this the right place for me? It seemed great, but like, what's going to happen day to day? What do I want to be? What do I want to major in? Is my family okay? How am I going to pay my tuition bills? I had scholarships and everything else, but I just remember that feeling of, hey, people are hustling to make this happen for me. So I want to make them proud. So I felt a lot of weight on my shoulders kind of coming in. But what I would say to women coming in, whatever your circumstances are, wherever you're coming from, it's going to be okay. Like, you will get to where you want to go and whatever that is. And I think confidence and being okay with me, with the decisions I make and, the inevitable pitfalls that you will experience in life. I've had enough of them. I've had enough highs and lows now to see that you will get through it. And I think sometimes when you're 17, you don't believe that you will get through it. You believe that whatever angst or, drama or very serious life trauma you're dealing with at that time will be forever, or you think that the exuberance that you feel, the positive side of life, that will be forever as well. And I think as you age, and we're still kind of learning, you start to learn that there's a constant there, but there are peaks and there are valleys along the way. And I would say just be kind to yourself. Don't feel like you have to have it all figured out at 17. You might know what you want to do. You might change your major at some point. You may decide to go to Wall Street and then go work in the beauty industry or have 4 or 5 different careers like some of my friends have had. And that's okay too, because life is a journey. And I don't think it's meant to be a linear journey. I think that we all experience different things at different times. And what I can tell them is it will be okay. Prepare yourself for feeling like you're not in control. Prepare yourself to just let go and have the experience that you need to have. Don't control it, let it happen. And let life happen. And try to kind of put your blinders on. I was listening to the Calm app and the LeBron James segment that they have within the Calm app. And I thought, let's just listen to this. And he talked about horses in a race where they put the blinders on and they basically are just focused on that track right in front of them. They're not looking at the competition. They're not looking right. They're not looking left. They're not looking behind them. They're just looking forward. And that's something that really resonates with me. I believe in putting your blinders on. And I would encourage them to put their blinders on, be unapologetically who you are. And please don't look around for affirmation and don't compete. The only person you should be competing with is yourself. And the moment that you feel that you are, competing and you are acting outside of yourself, so be unapologetically you, focus on you, and focus on having the journey and letting it happen to you and be flexible. Don't be a stick in the wind, be a little bit of a piece of silk in the wind, if you will, and allow those experiences to shape and mold you. Because I'll tell you right now, I am still a work in progress, ladies. I don't have this all figured out, and I'll be the first one to admit it. And I've had some serious trials and tribulations in life, and I will have many more. as the years come. But at the end of the day, gratitude and that feeling of it's going to be okay is what keeps me centered.
Wow, well, that is so inspiring, encouraging, and motivating. And thank you so much for those nuggets. I mean, I'm telling you that you said a mouthful, because you have more good days than bad days. And as long as you have more good days, like you said, you'll make it through. And we're all still learning. And we just appreciate your time today and you just dropping all this knowledge. I mean, for someone that is 17 trying to decide which college they'll attend, this is inspiring to them, you know, to say, look, you went to Spelman College, you exude excellence, and so many people will want to follow in your footsteps. I know so many young people that are interested in beauty, and so we appreciate you serving as a role model. But not only that, just the adults that are watching, who now we've had this time to ourselves to sit and reflect, and some people are saying, you know, I absolutely don't like my job, and I am a VP, and what can I do to pivot? So to see you so successful in a career that you never really aspired to be in, it just sort of seems like your steps were ordered. I just want to thank you so much for joining Ashley and I today and sharing your story. And where can we follow you on social media and follow up with you if we have any questions about this amazing industry and company that you work for?
Absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn. Sarah Curtis Henry. You can also find me on Instagram, and it's at S Curtis Bay, which is my maiden name, folks, on Instagram. So that's SCURTIS as in Sam, B as in boy, E as in Edward, Y. And as I mentioned, on LinkedIn, and I am most active on both of those platforms. And if you reach out to me, I'd be more than happy to get back to you. So please DM me, and I'm happy to follow up, and I will always make time for my Spelman sisters. I want to thank you guys for hosting this, for having this idea, for being innovative always, and being an inspiration to me and to so many others. I think you embody the values of the Spelman woman. I love how you always reach out and reach back and forward to those who are interested in being part of the Spelman community or who are already a part of it, and really carry that torch. So I'm thankful to you for the success that you've had, carrying that torch and being such a great example and putting this together. So thank you so much for inviting me. I'm honored. And this was a wonderful way to spend a little bit of a Sunday afternoon. So thank you.
Thanks again, Sarah. And I'll be remiss if I didn't say that I think we can also find you in the March edition of the Essence magazine, correct?
Yes.
Cover girl, for sure. Thanks again,
It's
Sarah.
the March-April Essence magazine, both in the actual print edition and in the digital edition. So again, that was one of the greatest honors of my life. I think as young girls, you read Essence magazine, and it was definitely on my vision board that one day it would be amazing in some capacity to be in Essence magazine. So that was truly a dream that came true, and super blessed and super honored.
Thanks again, lady. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies. Bye-bye.